Thank you very much, Reno, for this excellent introduction for the day. I'm going to speak in Polish, of course, as this is my, mother tongue, so I feel very much obliged to do so for my compatriots. Szanowni Państwo, niezmiernie się cieszę, że po raz kolejny...
Ladies and gentlemen, I am very happy to see that as yet, as ESPON, we can provide you with a specific service, the form of a platform for the exchange of experience in such important areas as energy transformation and the preparing of regional and directional plans for just transition for Polish regions on our way to non-carbon or carbon-free economy. You probably remember that last year, as the week of the ESPON, we had the opportunity of providing our European decision makers with a document that we prepared, a policy brief, if you will, focusing on the experience that we can draw from the transformation and transition of regions and economies, basing their development potential on the mining and processing of energy resources, specifically coal. I think that today we will be able to focus today's meeting on interesting observations in terms of what can be used from all these experiences. We will be focusing on what is important to Polish regions and other regions who will be shortly approaching and entering the path of transition and transformation. So please bear with us, please stay with us for as long as possible for you. I am very, very happy to see that the number of our participants has just crossed the number of 100. We are going to be at your disposal today and also once the meeting closes in order to provide you with information concerning development targeting events. Thank you very much, and I hope that as many of you will join our event as possible.
Thank you very much, Wiktor, for this introduction. So I think I can invite Renata Calak to offer a talk now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this invitation. Of course, I also would like to speak in Polish. Bardzo się cieszę za zaproszenie na to spotkanie.
I am very, very happy to have been invited to this meeting because during this particular period, programming mechanisms of proper transition and integrating European funds as part of our efforts is hugely important. If I may, I would like to share a presentation with you. As said before, this is a very new importance for, this is a very experience for us in terms of attracting European funds. Now, with regard to the programming of the Just Transition Mechanism, the European Commission has identified 6 regions that can be actually entitled, eligible for such funds. That is the Silesian, Lower Silesian and Wielkopolska region, Śląskie, Dolnośląskie and Wielkopolskie in Polish respectively. Nonetheless, we believe that those horizontal themes omnipresent in Poland, which is why we believe that it is hugely important for all regions mining hard coal and lignite today should be entitled to and eligible for Just Transition Mechanism funds, which is why we have expanded the region to include Lublin and Małopolska regions. We hope that this is going to be possible. Yesterday, we had a very effective meeting with the European Commission focusing on the topic. I would also want to emphasize that regions, voivodeships that had been invited to join the program slightly later as part of JTF must have performed a great job drafting their individual regional plans. Let me use specific statistics. The Łódź voivodeship, for example, well, the employment in the carbon industry today, well, it exceeds 7,000 individuals, whereas by the year 2030, we intend to reach more than 4,000, which means that we shall be reducing coal-related employment in the Łódź region by 35–40%. This means that the implementation of JTF in the Łódź region will bring about a reduction in the employment in the coal sector by 47%. The same thing goes for CO2 emissions. We are going to reduce it by 67%, in the Lublin voivodeship by 35%. These statistics definitely prove what we can do in order to fluently move between different topics with regard to. It goes without saying that these voivodeships had different points of departure. The Silesian region, the greatest beneficiary of JTF funds, well, its status is different in comparison with the łódzkie, lubelskie, and małopolskie voivodeships. Nonetheless, also the three latter regions have done a lot of work in preparing for this. I would like to emphasize that the process is definitely not easy. Apart from the operational program, we have to draft territorial plans of just transition. We have to invite all and any entities interested in the topic, not to mention the fact that the dialogue itself is not easy. Yesterday in Warsaw, we witnessed a protest by local miners, which means that the dialogue with all our partners requires a lot of attention in order to enable the process. Now, the next slide shows us how we can approach the topic of just transition in Poland. It goes without saying that the first thing we have to do is coordinate the process. This is a theme that affects many industries at the central and local levels. The first plan that we are following, the first document that we are following is the National Just Transition Plan. The Ministry of Climate and Environment drafted the National Just Transition Plan. Obviously, the plan is has been drafted in recognition of all Just Transition Plan pillars. As part of the program, 6 envelopes concern all regions. Nonetheless, when it comes to the Lower Silesian voivodeship, we have 2 plans. We have one plan for the subregion of Wałbrzych, and we have the Kamienna Góra separate plan, and also for the Zgorzelec or Görlitz element.
The next slide shows how we're planning to implement the instrument. It's a new scope of activity, and given the fact that the European Commission has shown that Just Transition Plan is a separate financial instrument as part of the New Deal, new European architecture. Also in Poland, we want to implement this instrument separately as part of the National Just Transition Program. We want to emphasize the strong role of regions as the intermediary institutions, with a specific allocation given to individual regions. Here, what is specifically important is that we have made a transfer of cohesion policy and intensified the extend the scope of Just Transition Fund by the amount of 564 million euro, which we want to implement as part of the national plan and set it as a priority to be used by all the regions. This will be a priority that will help prepare different kinds of pilot projects and will ensure cooperation of partners who are in the system, which works on the process of transition, economic transition. I would also like to bring your attention to the fact that we are facing a lot of work in the area of public aid. It probably doesn't sound clear in the context of planning, but we need to focus on that aspect. The Ministry of Funds and Regional Policy will proceed with that process, will notify public aid to all the regions. The last slide in my presentation shows a number of program documents which affect the area of just transition and the whole scope of economic transition we are planning in Poland. The first of these documents is Strategy for Responsible Development, with a strong emphasis on transition. We developed a program for Silesia, which is now being implemented, and we can say that certain elements of the program which were introduced for Silesia were emphasized strongly enough to be included in the current architecture, in the current structure of the plan. Another document is Poland's energy policy until 2040, which is a breakthrough document that organizes matters related to energy policy, which has been attempted many times before. Right now, the government has accepted this document, and it sets the guidelines for planning, also planning resources for energy as part of the national reconstruction program. I also want to mention the timing aspect. Right now, we have the program documents on the national level, which shows the direction of our energy policy. But also the regions are now working on practically finalizing the regional documents which relate to those issues, and they promote their regional operational programs. The process connected with coordination and complementing individual operational programs is incredibly important. Obviously, all those challenges we're facing in Poland in relation to energy transition are really huge, but I hope that due to the funds which are designated under JTF, that challenge will be overcome, and we'll have more funds in the next financial perspectives for the economic transformation and energy transition as well. In the second panel today, you will have an opportunity to learn and discuss the territorial transition plans for Śląsk and the Lubelskie voivodeships. So I will be really interested to listen to what their plans are, especially because Lubelskie has performed enormous load of work to develop this document. Thank you for your attention.